women are playing a very dangerous game when it comes to the how to marry rich content. And that's not to say that women shouldn't aspire to be with men who are financially stable, but it is to say there's a certain type of woman who asks, how can I marry rich? Usually those women have a long list of other issues that, when that's not addressed, is going to lead them down a really dangerous path. So I want to talk about a couple of things in this area because I hopefully will never have to talk about it again. And hopefully that gives a little bit more insight and nuance than I hear a lot of other people talking about. So on TikTok, I actually posed a question of why do you think that there are no male creators who are teaching women how to date men with money? And they started commenting, a couple of creators who were gay. And so my point still stands. You have all these dating coaches, but you don't have the target audience, the straight rich male, making content for women of how to achieve that. So something about that already should be raising some questions. And the simple answer to that is, men in these spaces, we don't want to teach women how to be women. In fact, I might say to some extent, we can't really teach a lot of those things. Only a woman can teach that, because these young ladies who are growing up in these spaces are taught certain graces and elegance and all these other things from a very young age that we are not really a part of. And so that's one thing. But also as a man, I don't want to teach you that, because if I'm teaching you, that means you don't know. And in these particular spaces, in upper class spaces, the woman is a reflection of the man. So if I'm able to bring this very graceful, well put together lady to, XYZ event, that reflects well on me. If I bring this ditzy, no good woman who doesn't understand what's going on and is messing up all these social graces, that reflects poorly on me. So I'm not gonna risk this woman who knows like 3 things out of 300 and bring her to this event with me. Now, we might hang out, we might get down in the bedroom, but this is never gonna be a serious partner that I'm going to bring anywhere of substance. And that is where a lot of women are getting situated in at best. And the problem is, when I say these women tend to have other issues, like I even heard some people saying that now women are saying they don't need to go to college, they don't need to have a degree because men with money don't care about that. Again, if we're in a situation and somebody's mother says, oh, what university did you attend? And you say you didn't go, that there's no scenario in which that plays out well, unless you are phenomenal. You have done some really extraordinary things despite not having gone to college. But if you just didn't go to college and you do nothing and you're ditzy and you effectively bring nothing to the table, even though I hate that term, that's not going to do anything for you. And you are never going to meet the parents to begin with, right? And so a lot of these women have this fantasy that you can just sit at a bar, and if you're just pretty enough, a rich Prince Charming is going to swoop in and buy you a drink, and that's how you're going to get married. It's absolutely, completely unrealistic. At most, you're going to become an escort. Because if you're just cute and ditzy, like I said, you're never going to be a long-term partner. So you'll have some fun for a few months, they're going to get tired of you, they're going to move on to the next shiny thing, and then you're going to have to find another man to now keep up the lifestyle that the first man introduced you to. And at a certain point, you're an escort. That's what that is called. And you never have a claim to those spaces in your own right. And so as soon as you're not cute anymore, or you're not young anymore, and you're not the shiny new toy, it gets progressively harder and harder for you to maintain that lifestyle. And again, you're still just jumping from man to man to man. That's not a situation that I would want a woman that I care about to be in. And on top of that, that's why I do think my content is still very helpful for women, because you have to have your own stuff. You have to be put together to naturally be in the spaces with these men, because men in these spaces date women in these spaces. It's that simple. Everybody's been on a dating app. I'm not gonna act like I'm above it, right? But I've never seriously dated anybody off of a dating app, ever. All of the women I seriously entertain are all from my social circles. In fact, the first date, a lot of the first date conversations that people have are kind of irrelevant, because it's like I meet these women in like at a social gathering or something like that. So I already have a lot of background on them. I already know a lot about them. We've had conversations. I've already sussed out, a few things that I need to figure out before we ever start talking about going on a date. And so for me to go to some bar and hit on some lady, the chances of that really turning into something is slim to none, because of what I said earlier. There's too many rules and etiquette and expectations that you need to know. And a random woman at the bar may or may not actually know any of those things. She probably won't know any of those things. So again, we might talk, we might have fun for a couple of days, but as soon as it becomes clear that she doesn't know what she needs to know, it's over. And so, again, as a woman, you need to be putting yourself in the natural social circles. That is when you become an actual proponent for a longer term relationship. And even outside of your relationship, you will still have your own right to these spaces. So you're not at the whims of a man. Because when you're at the whims of a man, that means the man knows that and you know that. So it's like, well, I'm going to treat you however I want to, because otherwise, you're not going to get this lifestyle. I know that you really want this lifestyle. So you're going to do what I say, or you don't have this. And that is an uncomfortable power dynamic. And so in order to get out of that, again, you need to have your own stuff going for you, always. And so I like to use Jeff Bezos as an example. I actually always forget his original wife's name. I believe it's Mackenzie. But even that goes to prove the point that I'm about to make, which is that I'm going to call her Mackenzie because I think that's what it is. Mackenzie Bezos built Amazon. Let me tell you. That is why she's still made off as a billionaire herself. She built Amazon. Now, nobody remembers that. Nobody really talks about her that much or cares about her that much the way that they talk about Jeff Bezos. Right? But she built that company. That is the type of woman that men with money like to marry. Because you might not even officially be on the payroll or working at the company, but at home, you're doing a lot of stuff to help that man build that business or whatever it is that he's working on. So you can't be a little ditzy girl who never went to school and is just cute. You can't do, like, that's not benefiting me. Again, it's nice to have you on my arm, sure. But at a certain point, I need to get married to a woman who's going to do something for me. And a lot of people have talked about how traditionally in these spaces, marriage is often a business transaction. There's so much, it's almost like, now I'm American, so, anybody from the UK or whatever, don't get on me too bad. But it's sort of like in the royal families where certain marriages would be made based off of certain families and, alliances and things like that. I don't think it's quite as strict today, of course, but it's still along the same lines of marriages are for financial benefit. It's not just only love. And you can have both. You can still love the other person, but there also needs to be some financial benefit. Romance without finance is a nuisance. That is what I literally was raised on. My mom said that all the time. And so, I say all of that to say, you still have to have something to contribute. You still need to have your own stuff going on. And if you are going and sitting at the bar hoping a man comes by you, we know that. We know that you are doing that. And again, I'm thinking of you as an escort because that is how you're presenting yourself. As you're a woman who's sitting there waiting for a man to give you some money. I know that. Every man knows that. And so a woman who has her own stuff, what she does is she's gone on a shopping spree with her own money. She's been hanging out, having a girl's day, and she says, you know what? I'd really like a drink. And she goes and sits at the bar and has her a drink, and she's having the drink because she wants the drink. And that's it. And that's what men are attracted to. And even the way that a woman presents herself when she's in that situation is very different, because she's not dressed up like this is the highlight of her week. She's not dressed in a tight, little tight black dress. She's dressed in some regular clothes that she wore to Neiman Marcus or Saks Fifth or whatever. That is a type of woman that men who have money will look at as an actual potential partner. And so to wrap all of this up, the how do I marry rich is the wrong question. Because if you as a woman do not have your own stuff together, aside from a man, the only thing that is going to happen when you bring this man in is there's going to be an unhealthy power dynamic, and that is almost never going to work in your favor. I would really be surprised if there was a situation where that truly worked out well. And you are going to be miserable. You're going to be sitting at home taking care of some kids while he is, running the streets or whatever, at best, even if you do get the ring. So please. Also, the last thing I'll throw in is a lot of people who are talking about marrying rich are not marrying rich. A lot of people think making $100,000 a year is rich, or even $200,000 a year. That is not marrying rich. That is marrying maybe better than your current situation, maybe marrying better than a lot of people's situation, but that is very different from marrying rich. So you need to also make sure that when people are saying marry rich, you have the same definitions. I'm not talking about marrying a dude who has a regular good corporate job. I'm sure a lot of those things will work on him because he doesn't care. And in fact, men in that position, it's great if you're a little bit ditzy, because that means you'll never have the chance to make more money than me, so I'm really not making that much. I'm making an attainable amount. So if you're a little bit smart and you go to law school and you decide you want to go to law school and you go start working in big law, now you're out earning me. And now I feel a way about that. That's how men think. At least men who are making that, $100,000, $200,000 a year. 200 is really even a stretch. Most men barely get across, the 100K mark. But anyway, point being, please pay attention to these things. If you just take that type of advice at face value, it is going to end you up in situations that you do not want to be in. So if you guys have any more questions or anything you guys want me to talk about, please let me know in the comments. You guys know that you need to share, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time.